Hello viewers. I was just recently reading the one of the book of Carl Newport, Deep Work. In that book, he fervently emphasized on deep work over shallow work. That most of the people that in today's society is doing shallow work, like they are living in a distracted world and not giving much preference to deep work. So in that book he provides several methods. First, in part 1 he shows the importance, the vitalness of deep work, and in part 2, as I was reading today, he shows which type of deep work you can go, because there are several ways to go deep work and every person's life is different. So there are different ways in which you can go in deep work. He shows philosophies, like which philosophies you put yourself in. So first philosophy he proposes in his part 2 section of the of the book Deep Work is the monastic philosophy, in which he gives the example of a writer, science fiction writer, Neil Stephenson. he he is a writer who completely away from the social media since 2000, year 2000. He wrote in his email that on his website that uh, from 1975 to 1990 I was on the email and that is enough for my life, and now I will give my entire life to my writing skill. And he says further that if I do not give deep work to my writings of writing novels, fictional novels, then I can do my job. I can do several other things, but that the writing of my novel will affect spectacularly. So he don't want to give any chance, so that his work will suffer, his writing will suffer. So he completely put himself away from the world, from the newses of whether it is politics or geopolitics or any types of work, whether the economy of my country is going up or down, the all those stuff that is considered by most of the people is essential, common people should know. This is the philosophy that Neil Stephenson put away himself from the world and working on his novel without any distraction, going on concentration. And the writer Carl Newport explained that this work will produce a remarkable person in your field. Just example, if you are writing, then you will be remembered as one of the greatest writer of your time. And if you are a painter, if you're painting some things, you are remembered as a greatest painter. If you are a singer, you will be remembered as the one of the legend singer, and you will have a generation effect. Your songs will have echoes for centuries. And now the second philosophy comes, which is the bimodal philosophy, which the writers in his very first beginning of the book, he said, when his writer give the example of Carl Jung, who took off from his work and went to woods, that is forest, and live in a somewhat ordinary house, and works in his book, in which he criticizes Sigmund Freud theories, because he has some personal issues with the theories that provided by Sigmund Freud, who lived earlier. Who lived earlier than him, and the supporters of Sigmund Freud fervently oppose the idea of Carl Jung. So Carl Jung had to make some times in a week, just for example 2 or 3 days in a week, to completely withdraw himself, completely put away himself from the world, and to give 100% his effort to the work, to the writings, by observing, to thinking. And he gave that when he went to the forest in his small and ordinary home, he first in the morning wake up at 6 a.m., then meditate for 1.5 hours, and then started writing till night. And then he slept, and the following day he did the same routine. So this is the bimodal philosophy, and this is the same thing that was adopted by several other writers, poetics, uh, poetries, and several others eminent persons of history, which which cannot live without his one of the jobs that cannot be put aside in that work, because if Carl Jung won't do the work of doing taking care of patients, which he take care on 4 days a week, and the remaining 3 days he do writings of deep work. So if he didn't do the work that just like example for if he didn't do the uh, uh, if he didn't treat patients, then he will not able to give his effort to do the to write, and to think about it, and which will even threat to his what we call his survival. And now the last that I read just a moment ago is the rhythmic philosophy. This is the third philosophy for those people who are doing two jobs at least. Uh, like he gives example of Brian Chappell, who is also a 9 to 5 worker, 9 to 5 doing office jobs, and also one of the researcher writer of a college, and he is considered as an assistant professor who writes something fruitful, something lucrative for the professor, so that they will give it to the college. So when the writer of the book Deep Work, Carl Newport, interviewed and asked that what was his schedule uh, during those time, then Brian Chappell said that I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, or sometimes even earlier, and then from 4:30 to 7:30 I continuously write. I completely goes deep into it without any going to any social media apps or any checking any emails. And due to this, he said that it takes me much time, but it will give me a good amount of work, a good amount of satisfaction, that I'm really doing something of my love, that I admire, and I really go into deep work. So these are the three basic model philosophies that I have read yet on the book Deep Work by Carl Newport. And there are several other philosophies and several other things that Carl Newport discussed in his amazing and his extraordinary written book. And he is, I think, a prolific writer, Carl Newport. So, if uh, if I would read anything, I will read anything which is quite illustrative for, and which is the every passage that Carl Newport given in that book, in his book Deep Work, is quite illustrative in my opinion. So I will notify you all. Thank you very much.